A few days ago, the YouTube channel Watcher made by far the most controversial decision on YouTube, and they decided to leave YouTube to create their own streaming platform, in which they would charge their fans $6 a month to access their content. Because of the overwhelming backlash, they released an apology video a day later, and basically said, we're really sorry, we're not actually going to leave YouTube anymore, and they completely U-turned on their decision. But if you want to get caught up to speed, I've already made a couple of videos about the two videos, about the initial video, and then also about the response. But I was scrolling through YouTube, and on my homepage, a body language expert popped up. And what was interesting was he was analysing the Watcher's apology video to see if the apology was genuine. And this was something that popped off in my comment section was, are they actually genuine though? Or are they just apologizing because of the backlash? And that's what I wanted to delve into today. So the YouTube channel that we're going to be checking out is called Observe. So go and check out their channel, subscribe to them because this video is amazing.
Hey everyone, last Friday we announced that we're leaving YouTube and launching our new streaming platform.
We messed up. A lot of you spoke out with extremely valid comments and concerns, and we want to take the time now to address those.
We've been gonna go ahead and pause here just to make note of a general setting. Obviously they're on their normal set. That's something that kind of nullifies the background and makes it to where we're not feeling any level of manipulation from them on that point. That's a pretty good sign. Also, I have a very distinct feeling that this entire apology was scripted. Scripting on an apology has some pros and cons. On one side, you can assure that you're covering all of your bases. On the less good side of things, it can come across as detached and forced.
And I completely agree. Obviously, it is scripted. You could tell they all knew exactly what they were going to say, when they were going to say it. And they all had their own talking points that they clearly mapped out beforehand. And, you know, it is good, but it did feel a bit forced. It didn't feel as genuine as it could be, as if it came from the heart. And it was just like they put a camera on, they were like, look, guys, we messed up. We apologize. Here's why. And they just kind of went off the cuff.
So what this will really boil down to, since it's scripted, the words that they say are arguably very good. What we'll be paying attention to is whether or not it reflects non-verbally as well, and if so, where it reflects, to help us kind of get some of the backstory behind what they're saying. They're all sitting here on a couch again, so I'm not going to be paying attention to the direction of their legs crossing unless there's a substantial change in it. But from where they are here, if we were to rely on the legs crossing side of things, we're seeing Shane and Ryan crossing their legs in a way that keeps their body open to each other. Meanwhile, Steven is off to the side, kind of out of that little pod, and he is also crossing his legs differently. So there is that, but again, they're on a couch, they're sitting fairly close together, so I can't say for certain that that's an indicator of their mental state in general, but it is something to make note of. Also, when Ryan starts speaking, immediately he starts doing a palm upwards gesture with a manipulator in there. So the manipulator is the calming down. Would be something that's common in agitation, anything in those areas where you see somebody manipulating, it's to calm the nervous system down. And then we're also seeing these palm up gestures from him. These are subservient or submissive gestures. That's very common to see in a pleading situation, oftentimes an apology. So
this is why this video is amazing, because this guy reads between the lines, and when I watched it, I was like, I need to showcase this to anyone that hasn't seen it yet.
From Ryan, we're already seeing some level of emotional synchronization with what he's saying and what he's displaying. That's good to be able to see. Let's go ahead and kind of listen to what they're saying, observe it, you know, the drill, let's go.
We've been reading the things you've been saying, and we're sorry for the way we handled this, as well as the way we communicated it. We understand where you're coming from, and we're making immediate changes.
First, we want to affirm that you...
All right, gonna go ahead and pause here again. We're seeing, again, a lot of palm upward gestures from both Shane and Ryan. This submissive, subservient gesture is a very good thing to see during an apology because it reflects that I am open and submissive to the people that need to be apologized to. And that is an emotional standing in a genuine apology. If you start seeing people with a lot of dominating gestures or closed off gestures, anything that might be indicating a different emotional state, that's where you start to have to really hone in and pay attention. So we're noticing that. We're also seeing around Shane on his face, you could see that this has taken a level of toll on him. You could see underneath his eyes that there is a little bit of perhaps sleeplessness or stress and anxiety coming out in the form of under-eye bags. That can be a pretty good physiological indicator as to how his prior week has been during this entire scenario. And then again, with Ryan, we're just seeing a very regular submissive gesture from him with some manipulators. These will come in very regularly as he's talking. He'll fiddle with his ring, he'll massage his hand, but constantly keeping this vein of submissiveness with his nonverbal communication. So far, seeing synchronization from at least Shane and Ryan. Let's continue watching.
Now this is where it's great. Like, obviously, this is looking great so far. Yes, it's an apology. Yes, they are genuine with their apology as well. So, brilliant stuff.
You are the reason why we've been able to do anything at this company. You helped us every step of the way when we left BuzzFeed to start Watcher at the top of the pandemic in 2020.
You've supported us in so many ways by watching our content, attending our live shows, buying our merch, becoming members of our Patreon, and giving words of encouragement over the years. And we are incredibly grateful for your support.
We're sorry for how we originally delivered our goodbye message to YouTube. It was insensitive. We didn't properly express how much we appreciate all of you.
I'm going to go ahead and pause here. So something that I want to make note of is that Shane is displaying more of the emotional toll that would be expected in this sort of situation non-verbally. You can see that most clearly with his expressions, with, like I mentioned, the general falling of his face.
Now, we've seen the first two, obviously, within this video. I'm going to fast forward it a little bit to the other people in this as well. Because, obviously, you know, there are 3 in this crowd, and we want to see how they react to the situation.
And we did a really bad job of explaining the reasoning behind this transition.
We also want to deeply apologize for our ignorance around the impact of the cost. We regret stating and implying that it's a price that anybody can afford, and we fully acknowledge that it is not.
Now, I mean, I've already acknowledged that there's not as much open palm stuff, but I'll leave it with the expert.
We didn't take the proper consideration for how this cost would affect you, and hope you know that we are taking this as a serious learning experience.
Go ahead and pause here. So this is one of the areas that people start to have issues. Not many people are having difficulty with Shane and Ryan in this, and I feel like I've explained kind of why that would be from the nonverbal standpoint. Now, when we get over to Steven, what we're noticing is, one, the gestures that he's using. First, he stays very, very stationary with the pose that he's in. He doesn't have any of the subservient gestures coming out. Every gesture that he does is hands down and pointer, and neither of those are good to see in an apology where your role is to admit wrong and accept responsibility. That's not a dominating time, so to see that exclusively come out kind of gives us a little bit of an idea as to what Steven's mindset might be behind it. Now, the other possibility is perhaps Steven is very just uncomfortable in general. It does not make sense with the context of what he has created on the internet in the past. Again, he has been on the internet for a minute, so it's not likely to be centered around a level of nerves in regards to this. Also, he's not showing any nonverbal indicators of wanting to self-soothe these agitation points down.
Now, when I saw this before, I was like, I had a bit of a yeah, because yes, he has absolutely made, you know, loads of content on YouTube and online, and you know, he knows what to do in front of a camera to be the most expressive version of himself. But this is a very different topic to the usual types of content that they would make. So, for example, their content is usually, you know, scripted, created, off the cuff, whatever. But it's positive and lighthearted. This is very different. And the reason for it is because he's actually addressing a controversy that he's involved in. And for some people, that can be quite intimidating. So most people, when they're intimidated, would be to submit. But some people, for example, would be to be defensive in a situation like that. So to play devil's advocate, I'm not going to argue with someone who is a body language expert, because I can't. I've got no degree whatsoever to do that. But it was just the thought that popped into my head was like, you know, maybe it's a bit harsh on Steven to say that that's what's happening. But That's just me playing devil's advocate.
He's very stable, and all of the gestures that he's doing are palms down. Along with that, if we go beyond his nonverbal communication and pay attention to the tone of his voice, we no longer feel or hear the emotion that we heard in Ryan and Shane's. We're hearing what seems to be almost like a flight attendant style voice or an infomercial style of speaking, where he's not apologizing. It seems as though he's exclusively explaining. And I think that exclusively explaining side of things is an important thing to be able to make note of, as it does show up later on in this apology as well. However, what we're hearing from them verbally is all good stuff. They are taking ownership for the mistake that they did make. They haven't carried out anything yet. They haven't dropped anything yet or anything along those lines, but they have made a mistake breaking the trust of their subscribers, and they are owning up to that. And they're not trying to make an excuse for that. They are simply saying that they made a mistake and that they're sorry for it. That's good verbally so far. Let's keep watching.
Again, you know, I do feel like it's a bit harsh on Stephen, because this is new water for them. But we're going to fast forward towards the end, and we're going to try and see what the overall outcome is. Like I say, if you want the deep dive onto this, you need to watch this full video. I want to skip through it just to maintain its integrity a little bit. But let's take a little look.
Next chapter of our journey, whether that's on YouTube or on the platform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. So that's the entirety of the apology video. It's not very long. It doesn't feel like they need to go and wax eloquent on anything for a very long time. Very short, sweet, to the point. Verbally, again, flawlessly done verbal apology. It felt scripted, obviously. We've already touched on that, but what they said verbally is good, down to promising further future action in regards to the benefit of the people that they hurt or offended during this time. They also apologized for their tone. Everything that they did verbally was good. Non-verbally speaking, what I saw from Shane and Ryan was an emotional connection to the words being said, despite how scripted they may or may not have been. The emotional connection was there. That came out through a number of various things: agitators, subservient gestures, reposturing in areas, tonal changes, some of the more physiological things that you can't control, like the lines under your eyes from exhaustion or stress, things like that. That all was very present in Ryan and Shane. And then when it came around to Stephen, all of that was lost. It fell away, and it was replaced by this performative, disconnected experience, to where his tone didn't reflect at all the emotion of what was being said. His nonverbal communication gave no indicators of any level of agitation or need to self-soothe. There was no display of submissive or subservient nonverbal communication. It all maintained an explanatory tone and explanatory and dominating gestures, palms down and pointing. And this all boils back around to what many people are suspicious of, is that perhaps this was heavily driven by certain members of Watcher and was supported on various levels by the other ones for various reasons. It's all a very fascinating situation here. It sounds like Watcher, the people at Watcher, are doing what they can to possibly mend this very substantial wound that they've created.
Now I'm going to stop it there. Obviously, like I say, go and check it out for the full video. But I agree. I do agree with the points made towards the end there. Obviously, you know, the whole idea of this with... They had to do something. If they left this, their careers and channel would have been dead in the water. They wouldn't have made as much money as they probably wanted to, and probably a month or two down the line, after they've ditched YouTube, gone to their subscription platform, they would have come back, tails between their legs, cap in hand, and apologised then. It's better to do it now while the wound is raw, and you can maintain at least some of the loyal fans that they may have upset or offended. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump to get the hell out of that like button, subscribe if you're new, and tickle my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload to this channel. And until next time, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed. I cannot wait to see you in the next one. I'll speak to you later. Peace.